Today, I'm going to share with you some freight broker cold calling tips. But most importantly, I'm going to share with you the number one phrase that will turn shippers away when you are doing cold calling outreach to your prospects. All right. So if that's something that you think is important, if you're struggling with cold calling, if you're struggling with getting shippers, and you're having a hard time getting that first customer, or for whatever reason, it's just not working for you, this is probably a mistake that you're making or have made, and I'm going to help you correct it today, okay? So here's the phrase that you need to stop saying at all costs. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time, or some facsimile of that, like, is now a bad time? So it's very common in sales. You hear this phrase all the time. You hear this question all the time at the very beginning of a sales call. Hi, Joe. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time, but okay. So you need to eliminate that from your vocabulary. Just get rid of it. And I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why. Number 1 is you are stating the glaringly obvious. Yes, they are busy. Okay. They're absolutely busy. There's no question. There's never a good time for an interruption. So you're trying to say to them that, okay, is it a good time for me to interrupt you right now? The fact is, it's never a good time to be interrupted. All right. You have to understand, busy people do not have time to answer obvious questions. Okay. Useless questions. It almost insults their professionalism. It almost is an insult to them for you to ask that question, okay? Number 2 reason, you're making the prospect think about their workload. You're emphasizing the fact to them that they are actually very busy. They have a full agenda and they don't have time for this activity right now, okay? So you're reminding them of how busy they are. Needless to say, a packed agenda is not a good place for you to direct your buyer's focus, right? When you're trying to earn or steal a minute or 2 of their time, reminding them of how busy they are is a huge mistake, in my opinion. Number 3, everyone else asks the same question. So you immediately sound just like everybody else. And the first thing that goes through the buyer's head or the person on the other end of the phone is, oh boy, it's another salesperson. I wonder how quickly I can get rid of this one. So because you sound like everybody else, they're going to treat you like everybody else. Okay. You've heard me say it before. Different is better than better. You need to be and sound and act different than every other salesperson that's calling them. And it's not that hard. Number 4, you're wasting the opportunity. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, the fact is, they picked up the phone. They knowingly, consciously picked up the phone. If they didn't have time to talk at least for a minute or a short bit, they wouldn't have picked up the phone. But the fact is, if you say that, again, you're reminding them of how busy they are. Here's the reality. They're willing to accept an interruption at this time because they've picked up the phone, but it has to be worthwhile. It has to be warranted. It has to be compelling. But if you ask the same terrible questions and you sound exactly the same as everybody else, the automatic answer is going to be no. So what you got to understand is you're wasting the opportunity. Understand the psychology of this. If they did not have time, they wouldn't pick up the phone. Trust me, people that are super busy don't pick up the phone. They let it go to voicemail or they let it ring. If they're tied up in a project that's really important and if there's a deadline, they're not going to pick up the phone. That's when you get the voicemail. But when they do pick it up, what you have to understand is that is your opportunity to shine. So don't sound like everybody else. Don't ask a dumb question. And understand that if you are compelling, if you are interesting, if it's worthwhile, they will accept the unplanned interruption. And number 5, by saying this, it broadcasts insecurity. particularly in new or younger or less experienced salespeople. What I see salespeople using this as is a crutch to allow them to not engage in the sales call. Because if they ask that question, the majority of the time, they're going to get a no answer. Or, is this a bad time? Yeah, it's a terrible time. I'm really busy. I don't have time for this. Okay. If you ask that question as a new salesperson, number one, it portrays insecurity. It broadcasts insecurity. And I find a lot of new salespeople using it as a crutch, as an easy way to get off the phone, as an excuse to get off the phone, as an excuse not to engage in a full-blown sales conversation. Okay. What you guys have to understand is the first 5 to 15 seconds of any cold call is critical. Okay. It is precious time. You can't waste that time by asking dumb questions, by asking questions that you already know the answer to. Those 5 reasons I gave you, don't ask that question. Don't ask, is it a bad time? Or did I catch you at a bad time? Those are questions that are inherently a waste of time. So what you have to understand is you have to figure out a way to be compelling. You have to figure out a way to be different. I've talked about this many times as a part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. That's the 5-week coaching program where I take that piece of my brain all about freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system. And I transfer it into your head in a 5-week coaching program. It's sold out right now. You can't get enrolled. It'll probably open up sometime during Q1. But if you want to, there'll be a link on the screen here where you can join the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. I think it's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Okay. And so you can join that. But here's the thing. One of the most important parts of that program is early in the program in module 1, where you learn how to create a compelling sales hook. A hook that, number 1, is relevant and contextual to the prospect. Number 2, it's something they've probably never heard before, right? And is different, and it's compelling, and it draws them in. It will be that exception to the rule where they will allow you to interrupt them. They will engage you. But again, if you're wasting the early parts of this call asking that dumb question, you're never going to get to that point, because the majority of the time, they're going to tell you they're busy and they don't have time, call back another time, or they're just going to hang up the phone on you. So learning the fundamentals of how to create a compelling opening, how to have a good conversation starter is really, really important. And again, that's a big part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. Let me give you a simple example. I'll give you one example just so you guys understand. Let's say, for example, Joe Smith was your prospect. He works for XYZ Manufacturing. And before the call, you took 2 or 3 minutes to gather some sales intelligence. And you went on his LinkedIn profile and you had noticed that he had recently published some content about the fact on LinkedIn that company had just launched a new product. They had just launched a new widget. Okay. And they were now selling this widget, and they were very excited about it. It was a big product release. There've been millions of dollars spent on developing and launching the product. And he just posted this recently, and you saw that he had posted that about his company. What could you use as a compelling sales hook to, number 1, sound different, number 3, sound relevant, and number 4, get his or her attention? Well, use that piece of sales intelligence that I just gave you, that you just found on his profile or on his company website or wherever you found it, and generate a quick and compelling sales hook. For example, you might say, hey, Joe, my name's Dennis. Hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, and I saw that you guys just recently launched a brand new product in the widget category. Number 1, I wanted to say congrats. Number 2, I've worked with other companies in that industry, and what I've noticed is, and I was curious about your take on that, or how that's impacting you. Do you see how that's different? Do you see how he's never heard that before? Do you see how that becomes very contextual and relevant to him? That's a perfect example of how to garner their attention, how to earn their attention, how to want them to talk to you, how to have a real two-way conversation, a conversation starter and a sales hook that literally will outperform the average freight broker sales call 10 to 1. And again, You need to figure out a way to get rid of that as a part of your opening. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Is this a bad time? You need to get rid of that. It's very ineffective. I gave you 5 reasons why. If you guys are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Been in business over a decade, trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you want to get in on the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. You can join up on the wait list. Again, it sells out every time. It's not a free program. It's an investment of your time, energy, resources, and money. But it will be worth 10 or 20 times whatever you pay for it, whatever the investment is. Check it out. You can get enrolled there. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I do these Freight Broker Bootcamp lives every Monday at noon. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next Monday at noon.